Okay, here is my D911 OpenSimRacing button box. Love this thing. This is one of the best aesthetic pieces I have on this rig altogether. I think everyone can see that. This is supposed to be a replica of the GT3 Cup car. I don't know if you guys have seen. I'll throw a picture up there just so you can see the reference point. Is that the Cup car has something identical to this. Not the button layout, but basically the shape and the adjustability and the features that are on this are directly on the GT3 Cup car. So my intention on building this rig in the first place was making this as close to a 911 cockpit as possible. I kind of got out of that phase and just wanted functionality, but that was a major piece of this build. So as you guys can see, it has a plastic frame, nice little texturing going on. It feels like sandpaper a little bit. It has a 3mm thick, I believe, carbon fiber front end, very smooth. The finish is perfect. These buttons are very, very firm. I don't really use too many of them, to be honest. I only use about 8 of them in total. I use this to exit my car, blah, 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 blah. I don't have a use for a hazard button, but if I did, I have an illuminated one right here. I do use the brake bias knob in all 3 of these adjustment points, specifically for like brake bias, traction control, and whatever. But in a nutshell, it's a fantastic box. I don't have many issues with it. I do have a couple things that I want to point out that I experienced with this box, and I think it's maybe just me or maybe just the nature of the design. But the first thing is, it forgets itself a lot in Windows, and this is holistically surrounded around Windows. I have a lot of issues with this thing coming out of configuration, so I'll exit the game, turn off my computer, next thing you know, Windows wants to reassign all my USBs. Next thing I know, when I get in the car, this won't get me out of the pits, this won't get me out of the game. My buttons don't work, my brake biases are gone, so I have to reconfigure everything. So I don't know why that happens. It pisses me off every time, but it's not the box's fault. I think it's more Windows. But I will say I don't have that problem with my dash pods. Every now and then I have that problem, but maybe like once in every 5 attempts of this, so I'm not sure what exactly the problem is. I do want to note I got these going into a powered USB hub on the bottom. The port seems to be flickering all the time. I'm not sure what that means. I have to do some research and investigate that. Should wipe this thing off too. But just wanted to call it out there in case anyone else is having a similar issue. I don't think it's the box. I think it's Windows, to be perfectly honest, but I'll have to double check. I'm gonna reach out to them also and figure out if anyone else is having that problem. Moving on to my second issue with this box, and I don't really care about these issues, to be perfectly honest. It just takes me 2 seconds to configure everything again. But it'd be nice if I didn't have to do that. Moving on, so this is my second issue, is these rotary knobs. They have this little plastic tinted clear panel that goes over this fixed number 1 through 16 that shows your values. And once you start using this thing and moving it around, like as you can see, now I'm on the 5 and the highlights on the 12. So this thing kind of goes out of sync. If you're into if you're into that level of perfection with all your parts, this is gonna probably be one of those nuisance pieces for you, but I barely use it. And when I'm driving, I'm not even really looking at this thing. So I don't really look at these numbers in general. So it happens on most of these buttons. I think the red one is the most secure, but as you can see, it goes out of position relatively easy. So take that into consideration. If you're one of those super detail-oriented people, this may be one of those items that pisses you off. And that's the button box, man. There's not really much to talk about. It's just a box that you hit the buttons on. These toggles go up and down. Some of them go in and out, up and down. Some of them just go up and down. Some of them just go up. So this is like an up toggle. This is the up down toggle in, up down, and then obviously these are your simple up down toggles and then push button encoders. So really like this box. Really cool piece of my rig. This one gets the most attention in my opinion. Most people ask about this. I think Apex Sim Racing makes a very short version of this, has the same shape, even the same little curve down here. Another version of this that was built specifically for smaller use cases. So that's my button box. Moving right on to my dash pods. Let's talk about those. So here are my dash pods, and these are very, very simple. We don't need to spend too much time talking about these. I will say some things about the experience that I've had with them so far. But in general, there's a hole here on the P1X that is kind of stupid. I think it's for people to get their cables through if you're using wired wheels. But in general, I don't particularly like those holes. So I was looking for a solution on how to plug them up. And I came across these Apex dash pods. They're about 150 bucks. They're not too expensive. And what I appreciate about them is they fit in these holes almost perfectly, but they leave a little space. So when SimLab cuts these things, these front mounts, they're not exactly consistent on the inner cut. So he left a little bit of wiggle room. Well, I don't have much wiggle room, but he left a little bit of wiggle room to put shims in so that if they miscut the part, then you wouldn't have a bad part and get pissed off of Apex because SimLab can't cut their wheels consistently or wheel decks consistently. So there's a little bit of play there specifically for that purpose, and you put shims in, but I didn't do it because I don't really, care if there's a little bit of jiggle specifically here. And if you really want to get anal, there's clamps on the other side that I show you right now that have basically a clamping force against here. So as your wheel vibrates, it comes loose, and this is what you end up with. Again, not one of those things I care about. You don't even notice it when you're touching it, but if you're one of those people, again, who like perfection at all costs, this is probably one of those areas where you want to use the shims. I don't even know where mine are, to be perfectly honest, but as you can see, there's a rotary dowel here. This is similar to the SRB wheel that I reviewed a couple days ago, in which this has a little bit of loose play here, not like these encoders that are on my button box. I'm sorry, these rotaries that are on my button box, but this is a little bit of play. And if you're not using an extension, you might run the risk of rubbing this with your knuckles. It happened to me a couple times, which is why I stopped using this for brake bias. But now I just use it for volume. But as you can see, there's 3 buttons. The finish is gloss carbon fiber. I may ask Jimmy if he can send me out another set of these pods or these plates right here that are matte, like the rest of my components, like my DDU is matte, my OSW is matte, my steering wheels are matte. I may ask him to see if he has one of these sets in matte finish so I can match the rest of my rig and make it look better. But again, not much to talk about here. He did send me out a new knob because the original knobs on these things were 3D printed, and quite frankly, they look like pieces of shit. So now he has CNC'd aluminum knobs, which feel fantastic, and the finish of these anodization is really good. I like them quite a bit. So I was really happy when I got them, and I sent them some pictures. They look really, really good in person. In pictures, they look even better, but this is all. That's all it is. And on the other side, actually, let's go to the other side. Get up. So on the other side, same thing. You got 3 buttons on the bottom. You have a toggle switch right here, and then a push button on-off switch. I use that switch specifically for my ignition. One thing I like to do is keep the cars, like essentially I'll leave my simulator for a little while, keep the cars turned off like this. And then when friends come over, like they want to get in the car and play. So I'll let them go, and then I'll tell them to turn on this button, and it fires the whole car up. It adds to the experience. I don't know if there's any value whatsoever of having a button like this outside of that exact use case, but that's my use case, and that's what I use it for. But again, gloss carbon fiber. I think this is 2 millimeters thick, 3 mils thick. Do the research, look online. The back boxes have a USB input, another cable that comes from here and goes to the other side, so that these two can talk to each other, and that's one single input. You don't have USB cables all over the place. So again, this is a very simple product, but the value of it, closing off those holes and completing the whole dashboard, makes it absolutely spectacular for me. So I really, really like these pods. $150, can't really beat it. Get some functionality and some aesthetic pleasure out of it, and you're good to go. So the final thing we're going to talk about is my DDU, which I adore. And I have some different feedback from my original impressions on this thing. So let's move into the DDU section, and then we'll finish off this video and talk about the whole collective, how it comes together. Final piece we'll talk about today is going to be my DDU. This is a SimCore DS1 Z1 dashboard. I don't use SimHub because it's a massive pain in my ass. So I really don't like SimHub for anything more than just the vibration in my chassis. So I use Z1 holistically with this and exclusively. And this is a fantastic DDU, but again, there's not really much to talk about here. It's just a DDU. But one thing I did mention in my previous video was that with this one, I kind of said I bought the touch screen and I didn't really find much functionality or use case out of it. That was in a use case of me using a round wheel. When I moved to the SimRacing Bay wheel as my primary driver, I did notice that every now and then I wanted to go see what the track was looking like from a volume standpoint. So I ended up just touching the screen. I was able to see where everyone was at in the track, which is fantastic because now this whole wheel is not blocked off, or my whole dashboard is not blocked off by a wheel. I can easily just hit the dashboard and be about all my business. If you have a simulator that has real-time tire data, and you want to go monitor your tires and see if you're getting hot or not, then you can easily access the screen through a simple touch. So if you want to go back, you want to hit the left side of the screen. If you want to go forward, you hit the right side. Pretty straightforward and simple. It's a 4.3-inch dashboard. The surround is made out of carbon fiber. It looks about 3 mils thick. It's pretty damn thick, actually, maybe 4 mils. So this liner right here is pure carbon fiber, and it's very, very thick. The case is aluminum. You guys know how I feel about aluminum parts. That's what every part should be, is made out of aluminum. In fact, I'm looking at getting a CNC mill myself for playing with this whole sim world and building some parts. So aluminum is where it's at for me, and I think that's the way you get the really, really high quality equipment. And the meticulousness of this cut is just perfect. Like, there's no rough edge. It's just really, really nice. It's all connected by a quick release 4-pin USB cable that basically you just pull it up and connect it, let it loose. Love this thing. That may be proprietary. I don't think I've seen many more of those out there. So it's a really easy connection, and in general, like, it's just really, really easy to plug in and out. One thing I would change about my setup though, since we're talking about it, is I have my output set for the middle because I wanted to see no wires when I'm driving. That's my whole thing. I hate wires, so I don't want to see any damn wires. But now that I've used it, right, and I have this screen right here, I got about 3 inches of space right here that's basically dead because this is coming straight out and I don't want to destroy my monitor. So one thing I'm asking George to do is going to send me out a new case where the mount comes out, or I'm sorry, the cable comes out here, or the quick connect attaches here, and then I can just run it back over here and be done with it. But I could bring my monitor in and get so much more field of view by having this G9 wrapped around me if I have it directly on the back of this DDU. So I'm excited about that. That's an absolute that has to happen, because if I can scratch out a couple more field of view here, you guys know it's all about the field of view. Now with these DDUs, I have to use them because we want the proper field of view. So if you're managing your field of view properly, you're not going to see the dashboard on many cars that are out there in sim racing. So you still want to be able to see your shift points, you still want to be able to see your RPMs, your speed, etc. So you got to use one of these, in my opinion. I think you have to have one of these. This makes the whole experience different, because now I can set my field of view to be proper and not have to worry about missing out on my dashboard. So that's the key piece about having one of these DDUs, is that you can, again, have the proper field of view, get your full dashboard view, and not be missing out on anything. So I'm looking forward to bringing in this thing about 4 inches and having, I don't know what that calculates to, but plentiful more, because these whole edges now come back 4 inches. And now my field of view becomes so much wider, so I may be able to see like the corner of this mirror on the right-hand side if I do this properly. We'll see. Anywho, that's the end of this section here on my dashboard and my components. I'm like in reach of my arms. That's where I consider this thing to be. And then obviously I got my extension here, not part of the dashboard, but part of the same whole experience on making the cockpit feel like a cockpit. And that's what I want for my sim. So I don't plan on changing any of this. It looks perfect to me. Everything's positioned right. No need for a new box, nothing. The one thing I would say is that if you have a Stream Deck and you are looking to kind of integrate it with your sim racing, Apex also makes a box that holds these Stream Decks in perfectly. So it kind of makes it a box and a Stream Deck at the same time. Has buttons, toggles, rotaries, etc. All that stuff built into one chassis that holds the Stream Deck also. So check that out. I'll leave links for all this shit in the description. These are all the pieces I like to interact with. I'm comfortable with the location of everything. It feels like I'm sitting in my car. Everything's where I want it to be, and I remember where everything is. So now it's all about, immersion into the experience of simulating, not worrying about touching things so much. I know where everything's at. So I'm happy about my dashboard. I wanted to share it with everyone. Hope you guys enjoyed the video. And if you have any recommendations on equipment that may replace or complement any of this stuff, please let me know. I'd love to start tinkering around with more stuff. I'm gonna start buying products just to test them. And then we'll get some reviews out here and get some feedback going on and get my opinion on some of the products that are pretty popular in the market right now, and some of the products that you may not know about. So I'm looking forward to that. Also have some new shit coming in the next couple weeks. A new steering wheel. I'm inverting my pedals. I'm doing some cool stuff that's low cost that you can do to your own sim rig. So maybe we'll cover that also. So see you guys next time. Thank you all for watching. Have a wonderful day. We'll catch you guys on the blacktop.